must have been in probably the 4th grade. I don't know how old that makes you, but I was taken to New York to see this musical review, Call Me Mister, which was about returning servicemen from the Second World War, and I came back and I got the record album, and we lip-synced songs to Call Me Mister, which I staged with my 4th grade friends. Well, my original vision was seeing people frozen, looking across the stage at each other, when I just decided, wait a minute, if I walked into a theater tonight, what would I like to see? And now my second idea simply had to do, it's much more like going back to the first idea in a way. Because these films are slowing things down. I mean, this play is much more passive than my stuff has been up to now. So but it was basically using the films as a kind of tableau-like backdrop. That was the second idea. And focusing on that.
This is for you only.
I'm always just responding to what the needs of the moment seem to be. I don't know. I just keep looking at things and just saying, what would I like to see here? What would... And I don't know why. I just say, well, if so-and-so had this, if so-and-so had that, I don't know why. Like as I said, I found the vision basically the day that I began doing this kind of play. When I said, what kind of play would I really like to see? But it crystallized for me when I said, what do I want to see in the theater, which was a couple of years later. And I just saw kind of a scene from the balcony that I had just seen at the Circle in the Square, which was no good. But I saw just a moment where nothing was happening and they were just looking at each other. And I said, an evening in the theater should be like that. And it's true, I began as a painter, so maybe it's that I'm only interested in the static images of painting and so forth.
Risk it.
Well, this is different, these last 2 plays, because I start with a film. So here's the film. What can I do with this? And I can't remember. I know we got the title last year, and that seemed like a good title. And then, how did it become about the unconscious? Oh, well, that's in the title, right.
Isn't unconsciousness like the same thing as being dead?
No, it's a classical Freudian unconscious. I mean, I was very influenced through most of my life by, Freud, who obviously invented a lot of things now, it turns out, but I don't think that detracts from this great edifice that he made, that was, a major invention of Western society. It's about the Freudian unconscious, which is, a system that, well, there's so much to say about it, but it's not being dead at all. It's being down in that place where yes and no are the same thing. It's being in that place where there are impulses that haven't yet been formed into coherent language. It's all that stuff. And it's always been the place where I want to be. I've always been too rational in a sense, or too polemical, being trained by my father to argue well and to speak with a kind of rhetoric that is the rhetoric of argumentation. And I've always, since I was young, I guess, I felt guilty about that. I felt, oh no, it'd be more interesting to not be so coherent, and to be more in a daze. Because the biggest put down that I ever had in my life was when I was young, married to Amy, my first wife. She was doing a play in Philadelphia, and they had 2 musicians who were members of the Mothers of Invention. And I remember sitting around after one of the shows with these 2 guys and a couple of other people, and I prided myself because I was always impressive to people. In conversation, I'd argue things and seemed to be quite brilliant. And I remember one of them looking at me and saying, Richard, you're very focused, aren't you? And all of a sudden, I realized that was the biggest put down I had received in my life up to that point.
Knock, knock, knock. The stone that rolls up the hill, backwards,
A stone
is cold.
that rolls up the hill backwards is called.
You seem to have a very special interest in the quality of voice that comes across on your stage. You always want somebody to speak in a falsetto or in a growl.
Yeah, or in an accent.
Or in an accent. Why is that?
I suppose it's to help free you from listening to the intention of the statement, which is what most theatrical styles would have you focus on, and to listen, as in poetry, more to what the language itself is doing and to what the words are doing within the sentence. So anything that distances it a little serves that purpose.
You've
The only thing that interests me is this feeling of moments where something is there and you're waiting for something to break through. You're waiting for the world to open and reveal the other world behind it.